Let's see 2 ways to achieve a showstopper whole cloth quilt on this Q&A video. Hi Quilter! Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Aline.
And I'm Natasha.
And this is a whole series dedicated to you, to answer your questions and to talk about your suggestions. So please be sure to subscribe and let comments and suggestions on the comment section so we can produce more of these amazing videos. This is a part 2 of one question, and Natasha will read the comment for us.
Angela asked, should I read it entirely?
Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah, it's part 2 today, but it's better.
So Angela said, I wonder if you two could tell us how you both share the work of the quilts. Does one design and the other sew? That we already answered, and you can check on the
somewhere up here.
Yes. And did you draw the design of this beautiful quilt onto the fabric first?
This is the second question. So yes, on a show quilt, that is the contest on Angela's question. It's for a show quilt, and show quilts we usually mark a lot. On utilitarian quilts we do not mark as much, so it's kind of 2 styles that we have. A lot of marking for show quilts and the minimum amount of marking for utilitarian quilts. And today we are showing the 2 methods that we use to design a whole cloth from the sketch.
Okay.
So first of all, we are showing you this paper method, the design before trace on the fabric method. So we use some kind of paper. Of course, this is a commercial product, so it's not this beautiful, it's not this pretty. Sometimes it's very messy, but we try something on paper, and actually we use our quilting board to pick designs and to audition fillers or something like that. So we trace some parts of the design using our method. We actually have a mentorship on how to do whole cloth, and our students are doing this right now. They do the whole cloth formula and draw some primary lines on paper, and then we go with the board that you see a lot on this channel and do some experimentation. So after we have everything on paper, we draw it with erasable markers on the fabric, and then assemble the sandwich, and then quilt all over the marking. So this is the final product. Let's see up here, Natasha, because I think maybe
the line.
It's so white. Oh, maybe we can do this. The back of it. Yeah. So this is the final product. This is the back of this quilt. Let's see up here. And this is a quilt that has a lot of marking.
Yeah. Even to our quilt shows, we don't mark as much as you see in this paper. But like Aline said, this is a commercial product, and we want to offer to our customers the entirely quilt. They don't have to mark it all. Also, they could, but they don't have to.
Yeah.
But still, we decided to put on paper everything that we put on fabric. So
it's easier for the person that don't want to think of anything. The person just wants to do a beautiful whole cloth.
Yeah.
This is the intention of this product itself. We have another kind of designs that is like modules, so people can be more creative and use some other different shapes and areas. But this is a different product. But sometimes on show quilts, we mark a lot. Like for this particular quilt, we would not mark these parallel lines here.
Or the feathers.
No, the feathers we would not even think of marking. But for show quilts, we tend to mark a lot, like feather areas or more than primary lines.
So we would have, if this were were a show quilt, we will have for sure these lines up here.
Marked.
This, yes, what we would mark on this fabric. This design, I won't draw it, but
it's very
yes.
intricate. So this is the in the middle
Yeah.
would definitely be a marker. This free motion, no.
This design, no. Then we would mark the spine of these feathers.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes some kind of like this feather is very important for symmetry. So we could mark like this. I have to do feathers, classical, normal feathers until here.
And then we would mark this for sure. And then what we could do, well, this is a particular design that has an echo around, so we could mark not exactly the echo, but something like this, more.
I want this area.
Yeah.
This, even because, well, yes.
So
something like that.
Yeah. So
and then we'll fill with feathers.
Yes, and the feathers itself would be free motion, but on the fabric, we could even have this draw. Of course, we would have it all on paper. We'd have a mix between these lines on paper and then the study of the designs using the quilting board and then photographs of it. Not necessarily we will have a paper complete with all the designs, but for sure what we would do when we go to to the actual fabric on show quilts or quilts that we would do that doesn't necessarily need, like this one for example,
like a whole cloth.
Yes. We will mark this, the spine of the feathers, the end of the feather itself, and then these primary lines and some very intricate design like this one, but that's all.
Yeah, so on this kind of whole cloth, we do want to mark what will help us accomplish symmetry. We don't mark feathers or fillers or designs that we can do free motion, but we mark the designs that need to be symmetrical.
We wouldn't mark also some very easy to go ruler designs.
Oh, no, ruler designs, yeah, because the ruler has the
especially if it's just straight lines parallel or some arcs that our ruler already do without with us having to mark or something like that.
Yeah. So the whole process is paper, board, paper again, then trace onto fabric, and then quilt. If it's a show quilt, there's a lot more marking. If it's an utilitarian quilt, it's much less. Thank you. It's much less marking. But this is one process from the paper.
Yes, we like the paper more than stencils. We only do papers at this moment in our life because the paper, for us, we feel that's so much easier to do whatever we want and to then pass that to the fabric. Of course, that
we don't like the process of the stencil, like we don't like any material that is available today for our taste. It's not that there are bad products, it's just that we don't like it. We like to trace with a reliable erasable pen, not chalk, and we want it to be very precise when we mark. So we want to see the whole line and the line complete. It's a very satisfying process for us to do it on paper. So this is method one. And the other method that we use is, we have an example here that both quilts are unfinished, but I know you know us, you understand why this is happening. So we don't have to explain it. This is a traditional Welsh quilt. Of course, it's an homage. Yeah, it's an homage. It's inspired on the classical Welsh quilts from the beginning of the last century. And it's an exercise that we did, it's a workshop that we did for our students. And this we designed from fabric. Like we wanted to, one, be very near to the technique that Welsh quilters did or do, yeah, there are Welsh quilters today, did the design process. And the other thing is that we wanted to offer our students other things like besides paper, because there is not only one way to do stuff. So we did this on the fabric. We start with a plain fabric, and then we marked some lines like this, these centered lines, guidelines, and there is a lot of ruler work on this quilt, so that minimized the amount of marking that we needed to do, because the ruler already has the marking and the parameters that we need to do this kind of quilt.
Yeah. So what we did is we grabbed this fabric, we grabbed a ruler, patchwork ruler, cutting ruler,
yeah,
and just measure and mark these squares, the small square, the big square. Basically, that's all we did. You know, we have the line completing this corner over here. The line goes up to the end, so we end up isolating this corner. But basically, all we mark here was that. And we do this kind of marking direct on fabric when it's going to be more guidelines.
Not design.
Not design, yeah.
It's very, probably guidelines. Yeah. We can design on directly on fabric, but more for asymmetric, if it's not guidelines like borders and sections and things like that. If it will be a design itself, like a figure or something more intricate, it has to be asymmetrical for us, because if we need symmetry, we'll go back to paper. So we can draw like a landscape on the fabric and quilt it. That is, we actually did it a lot, but it's not a traditional whole cloth. It's like more an art quilt related, like pictorial landscape kind of thing, and it's okay. But this is a very good example on the one that has symmetry, and we did not use paper. We just used the marking on the fabric to make us these gorgeous borders and this center, and then we quilt from that. There's no need to paper because it's just borders, you know. So this is the quilt. Oh, it's super visible here.
The thread's glowing.
Yeah, it's like, this is not glowing in the dark fabric.
Wow. Especially because we're not in the dark. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question, Angela, and see you next time.
Till there, I'm Aline.
And I'm Natasha.